I will be smashing my bones in close to the mic in the theme of today's episode.
Do you have a hammer?
I don't know why you sent me down the rabbit hole that you did, but I don't know what to feel. I have many thoughts. So excited about today's episode.
Okay.
Let's go, actually.
Yes, let's go. I just want to preface this by clarifying one important thing. People assume mistakenly that Clavicular has used a hammer to smash his jawbone. That is not true. He has used a hammer, like allegedly declared by him, to cause microfractures on his cheekbones in order to have the bone regrow with more volume and stronger. I don't know why you would need a stronger cheekbone because you're not lifting weight with that, but I don't know. Maybe he does. So having that important clarification. Okay, Clavicular is 20 years old.
Yeah.
No, wait. He was born in 2005. He was born in 2005. He's 21. Wow. He's so tiny. And he was born Braden Eric Peters in New Jersey, Hoboken, which apparently is a very boring place, according to people who are from there. I've never been in Hoboken. But both of his parents are former bodybuilders. And interestingly enough, there isn't a lot of talk about his parents. This has been mentioned in passing in several podcasts, but he has a fraught relationship with his parents now. And in a Jack O'Neill interview, Jack O'Neill read a text that his dad sent to him that called him a total failure and a disgrace. And he asked for Clavicular's feeling about it. And Clavicular said that it's okay.
So while we do the background, I have a question, which is, I probably don't know the answer to this since I jumped on and I focused more on his philosophy and his worldviews. But why do so many people care? Like, why did Clavicular blow up in your expert opinion? Why did he become so big?
My opinion is not expert, but I would think that we are just at a point in the manosphere where people have exhausted the kind of mindset that says work hard, make money, don't stay in the matrix, in the system, and have realized that kind of mindset doesn't really make them money. And there is one ultimate place where people can exert their control, and that is their bodies. And we have always lived in a society that was interested and had prejudices about how people looked. We can go back to the Greeks if we want to trace a very general line of lookism. But I think he said, in general, the Looksmaxxing community, I think they said a quiet part out loud. But it was just an issue that I don't think had impacted white men as much up until now, when the rest of social mobility and the rest of the economy had fragmented to up to this point, that now looks are suddenly both very important to them, and one of the few things that they can exert control on and can help them create a career out of their looks on social media. Because otherwise, as he said in an interview with, I think it was Michael Knowles, other more traditional career paths are not going to give you the same amount of success and satisfaction and not celebrity, like what is that word for that? The same amount of recognition that I used to.
Fame, status. Okay. Okay. So, all right. I have more questions, but I'll let you go through the background and that's all.
Okay. He started using steroids in high school during lockdown. He was active on Looksmaxxing forum when it's starting 14, 15. And during the last years of his high school, everything was online on Zoom, and I can't imagine how that might have impacted so many people. I was in university, and I remember having this conversation during a Russian lecture with the tutor, the Russian language tutor, and that was something, when he was talking about it, that was something that resonated with me, because I had this exact conversation during class. The teacher was saying, it would be nice if you could turn up your cameras. And I said, you know what? I'm looking at myself in like these cameras all day for every lecture, and I don't like my face. I would rather keep the camera shut. I don't know why I said that at master's level at a lecture. And then she was like, for me, you are all beautiful. Thank you. But I get that, and it's very exhausting to look at yourself in camera. And I actually have somewhere, I will pull up a picture of his yearbook.
Okay.
If I look at him now, he looks fine. Like, he looked fine. He looked like a normal kid.
How long have you been on the? I mean, you've been diving into the rabbit hole for a while, right? Like a month.
Yeah. For a long while, yes. I don't know. I find him very fascinating. I found myself not despising the Looksmaxxing community as much.
He looks very similar to how he looks now.
Don't say that. He spent 35K on his face.
I mean, I didn't get any of the money. I'm not on his payroll, so.
He looks like a normal adolescent.
He's just fitter now. Like, probably has lower body fat. That's it, and some muscle.
Yes, and you know why he has lower body fat?
Because he got a surgery.
Because he uses crystal meth to suppress his appetite.
That's great.
Yes, and he is apparently on Ozempic. But the thing is that having started using testosterone at 15,
his body probably doesn't produce testosterone anymore.
He doesn't, and he, in several interviews, he has asserted that he is now infertile for now, but that is not going to be a problem in the future. He thinks he can just use the right pharmacology to restart that process in case he wants to have kids at some point. His parents apparently found the testosterone and threw it away, and he became even more secretive because testosterone is a prescription drug, and he was ordering it online off the internet.
Yes.
With no prescription. So, like, he was like dosing himself with, I'm not really sure how he determined how he decided what the right amount was.
I'm sure there's guides on those forums that he was on, right? Like,
definitely. He seems very, very into that, and in all of the interviews I've watched, his favorite topic is Looksmaxxing. interviewers have tried asking him about politics, about his love life, about literally anything else other than Looksmaxxing, and he just doesn't
He doesn't
care. He doesn't care about the rest or talking about the rest. I'm sure he cares for himself in some capacity, but when he is invited somewhere to speak, he wants to talk about Looksmaxxing, and I can appreciate like the determination and the nuance he wants to bring to the topic. He wants to talk about mathematics, facial ratios. He wants to explain the terminology. He wants to share his culture, and I find that really interesting, honestly. If we compare him to the rest of the manosphere that kind of like does these broad strokes of very like simplistic political statements. He is quite truly, I think, one of the few very apolitical, at least in how he wants to speak and how he wants to be portrayed in the media among these people.
So your claim is that he's a craftsman, and
yes, he crafted his face, his physique. I don't know how successfully, and if you listen to his interviews, he doesn't seem to be satisfied enough with his ascension, and ascension is essentially a glow up, but it does also entail financial and social success. Is not just about like ascending your looks. Your looks are the gateway for the rest of your life to be successful.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on this. So,
please.
Firstly, it's funny that after he ascended, he actually did make a lot of money. Like, he blew up, he made a lot of money, he got all of it. It's similar to, I don't know, top of my head, I'm thinking of an Avatar, The Last Airbender episode where there's a fortune teller, and then there's a volcano, and there's a city next to the volcano, and the city relies on the fortune teller to see if the city will be safe or the volcano will erupt. The year that Aang is there, the fortune teller's like, the city will be safe. And then Aang and Katara and Sokka, they see that the volcano is about to explode. So Aang goes and changes the clouds to make the danger signal, and then the citizens escape. And at the end of the episode, they're like, look, you can't rely on a fortune teller. And the people were like, well, she said we'd be fine, and we're fine. So she was right. Now with the ascension stuff, I think the reason why this particular person stands out is because of his conviction. And this goes back to the theory that if you 100% dive into something, and by 100% I actually mean it, like you literally think about nothing else, you dive into one thing and you're vocal about what you're doing, that makes you an outlier. And he got all of the attention, and of course he now has the Looksmaxxing community subscription and everything. So that's the first cool thing. I think I don't know if this is a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's just funny. He's been very positively reinforced for behaviors that are problematic, but he's now an adult and he can make his decisions. But he's also influencing a very large portion of the internet, whether he chooses to. I mean, there's a lot. I sent you an Instagram reel of the largest gift subs, like the person who gifted the most subs, so donated the most money to Clavicular on Cake. He's a crazy person. Like, he's not in his. Have you seen it?
Yes, dude, I have
1,000 Pepsi cans, and he's missing some teeth.
What was with the Pepsi cans?
Yeah, and Clavicular, the dude's trying to communicate, but that's just how it is. When you go into communities, let's be frank, there's a lot of these incel communities on the internet where, they have, I'm not very educated on the codes, like what black pill. I know what red pill is. I'm not sure what black pill is, but there's a lot of these communities, and these people are now reinforced. It's a form of genetic fatalism. Like, everything in my life is determined by how I look and how I engineer. So status, money, fame. The objective of life is not to. Nothing else matters. You just need to figure, hard max your face or soft max your face, and then your life will put itself together. So I don't know where I was going with that, but those are just some observations. I'll let you add any thoughts.
I have just one thing that I would like to clarify. Looksmaxxers and incels, at least Clavicular does not consider himself an incel, not just because he gets girls now, but he considers incels and people in the incel community to just be copers. So cope is anything that you use to excuse why you're not trying to ascend or softma. Yes, exactly. Okay. So someone who is actively trying to look smacks wouldn't be considered an incel in that regard, because I think, as far as I understand, a core part of the philosophy of Looksmaxxing is trying to go inward and find the reason why you are sexless with yourself. So you are sexless because you're ugly. Okay. And whereas an incel would say, I am sexless because these stupid bitches don't want to sleep with me.
So it's internal versus external locus of control.
Yes, and I think that is interesting. And when Clavicular was asked in a Jack O'Neill interview, was it Jack O'Neill or another interview? I'm not sure, but I will put the sources. Whether he thinks women have an influence in these trends, he traces it back to hypergamy, the fact that women have the possibility to have so many more partners right now than they did 50 years ago or 80 years ago. But then he says, and why should women sleep with this slop guys who don't take care of themselves, who are not working out, who are not doing Looksmaxxing? Yeah, fair enough. And he also explains it so that 80% of the women are going for 20% of the men, and so in order to pander to that high percentage of women who are looking for very few types of men, you need to start testosterone, for example, when you're during puberty, when you're in puberty, so you can grow and be 6 foot something, 180, to speak like metric people. And you need to use pharmaceuticals in order to grow your muscles and get that V shape. You need to fix your jaw so you don't have a recessed profile or some shit like that. And that the looks will enable you to fix the other parts of your lives that are blocked by your bad looks right now. Our Looksmaxxing, because women are too picky.
Okay, so that is there's some data or there's some studies that I've seen. A lot of these are unreliable, so I would not read too much into them. But on dating platforms online, it is true that I think most of the picks go to a smaller percentage of men. Now, there's so many spin-off theories. There's a side of there was a large dating community that was or dating coach community that was active on the internet, and even in mainstream internet, there's a book. What was it called? It was called The Game, I think, by Neil Strauss. Maybe you've heard of it. It got some popularity. It's about picking up women, essentially.
He
But
was one of the original pickup artists. Like he was teaching how to pick up girls.
Yeah, he was the person who made it mainstream. There were people before him, absolutely. Now, the philosophy of picking up women, at least from Strauss's stuff and some of the mainstream stuff, it was about a form of self-improvement, similar to what you can claim Looksmaxxing to be. It is, you have to be presentable, you have to know how to be sociable, you can't be in your room and just, lie on the floor and complain about, the the dating pool is so you have to do stuff about it. And then there were ways that they do it, they'd learn lines that go outside and try to. So there's a part of that. I think what has become that community or those kinds of people, I think because of the current dating scenario, particularly in the West, because a lot of expectations have probably gone up on the part of women, like what they expect in a man. I think this is true to some extent because of social media, but also it's happened for men as well. Men's expectations of what a relationship look like has been skewed by social media. So both of this probably results in people who are not as sociable, who have high anxiety or insecurity. They need some vehicle to retain control of these very important things in their life, which is status and like a partner, because the drive to find a mate is extremely, I don't know, like one of the biggest biological drivers in humans. If you pair that up with you being insecure about your body, you being insecure about your face, you being insecure about what your capabilities are, your competence, and you don't have a role model, which I mean in the modern society there's a lack of any sort of rites, rituals, role models that would show you how to actually grow up. And a lot of this is the new stuff. Like kids growing up with pornography when they're like 5 years old. So there's no real playbook on how to navigate this space with so many, and God knows, like Gen Z, I didn't grow up with the phone. Gen Z grew up with high-speed internet. So that also exposes you to a lot of things. I think all of these variables put together leave a lot of people open to the idea of, okay, yes, I have to take control. I've seen women like hot dudes. What do hot dudes have? They have these things. Oh, Clavicular's made money after he ascended. He knows what's going on. Let me latch onto that. So I don't know if that answered the original or just like a complete tangent. But
No, it is a fair tangent.
yeah.
I would argue that the reason why one of the reasons why dating has changed so much, especially in the West, and that is a big gripe with Looksmaxxers, red pillars, anyone in the manosphere, is not just feminism, but I think feminism has altered the possibilities. I mean, it has introduced the possibility of choice, which is a big thing in general for an entire gender to experience virtually freely for the first time in centuries. the relationship examples that we as women can draw from our grandmothers and great grandmothers are kind of appalling. And not having this kind of like a guillotine hanging over our necks has kind of redefined the things that are interesting and valuable in a relationship in general. I mean, if marriage is not an obligation, a social personal obligation, and a survival mechanism, why would I bother myself becoming some dude's calf? Why would I don't know, like, why would I go through Looksmaxxing? Because women do Looksmax. Like, we have been Looksmaxxing far longer than these dudes. Like, maybe not me specifically, but like any kind of like alterations that bring you closer to a sort of glow up. Just, I think for women is more kind of like attuning your physical exterior to what you perceive your interior to be, instead of like adhering to a model that is given from society and from rigid rituals. Why a woman who has all of the responsibilities she already has in her life,
why would you
like, what is the incentive? And I don't think beauty is the incentive. Beauty and like physical attractiveness can't be an incentive for like a very fleeting kind of like affairs. But I don't think that is actually what women are looking in relationships. Like, I think women just want someone who will divide the household labor fairly.
Just before I move on from this, I think a lot of what women were subjected to in terms of expectations, not just beauty standards, because beauty standards can get very toxic. If you look across cultures, particularly, it's just a thing where you stated it very fairly, where it was a survival mechanism. Like, you had to get married because otherwise, how would you? So it was just a thing you needed to do, and now that's opened up where that's not a thing anymore. There's still, let me just clarify, the expectations to get married, particularly for women, are still very strong in my part of the world. In my society, it is a thing where if you're a very independent woman, or if you're very you're doing your thing, either you're pursuing education or you're doing your thing, you can kind of stave it off, but you do have to listen to that kind of stuff. Like, get married, what are you gonna do? You'll not find a husband. You'll hear that kind of language. Besides the point, though. But a lot of what the expectations that women were subjugated to were not just even beauty standards. It was also what they were expected to. You were expected to be a good mother, a good wife. What traits do you need to? So it goes beyond even like you it goes beyond what you needed to do internally, but you also needed to be prepared for your next life as a wife.
Yes.
Which
you need to provide literal children, like the labor of your body in that sense.
And then take after them, and also be labeled as dependent on your, where everybody is dependent on the mother, but you're still dependent because you don't make money. But yeah, that is features of the patriarchy. Going back to the Looksmaxxing community, though, I have a fear. I don't know to what extent you subscribe to this. I still think a lot of this is as vanity, is that I don't believe in genetic fatalism. Don't get me wrong, pretty people get privileges. That's how it's always been. It just is what it is. I also have another opinion, which might be unpopular. I think if human beings are fit, so if they're just fit, they exercise, they eat well, and they don't have any medical condition, I think a fit human being is attractive, like all people. Now, everybody might not find everybody attractive. That's cool. But I think a generally fit person looks pretty good, men or women. I don't subscribe to the belief that maximizing your looks will unlock the universe for you. I think it is in some way a cope in and of itself, funnily enough, where because of unfavorable circumstances or, stuff might happen. Shit happens to everyone.
Jester maxing in front of my camera.
I saw a lot of the terms that you included in the terminology on in the wild. I thought people were just making stuff up, like gesture maxing. I just thought, it came from Looksmaxxing, but the fact that it's a coined term with a specific use case, that's interesting.
Yeah, they have a lot of interesting terms.
Yeah. Some of them are even wider, like frames. Frames are a thing in sales. They're a thing in general communication as well. They adopted it for anyway. So I think Looksmaxxing is a way of coping because you want to believe that something that you control, i.e., your looks, to some extent, you can soft max, and then of course there's the hard maxing stuff. You want to believe that this unlocks the universe, which it doesn't. The universe is significantly more uncaring. Like you can look as good as you want, and shit can still happen to you. I think it is it is immature because a human being cannot be boiled down to how he or she looks. And there's so many other things that you need to do in order to be a competent adult. So if shit hits the fan in any situation, or you have to do something important, I wouldn't have a team of looks maxers trying to achieve like a mission critical objective to do anything.
But
Yes, go ahead.
But if you have looks maxed, then you will have maxed in other areas of your life, in other metrics, and you will have the money to fix everything that hits your fan and fix the fan too.
I also don't think it's a viable way to make money. Unless you just go extreme, you become like a hardcore outlier case, where people, I mean, you can technically
Like
make money
clavicular.
selling, yes, you can make money selling toenails, you can make money breaking jawbones, you get to pick in this day and age. I also understand the sponsorships that he gets. If you see the crazy dude who was not fit to be sending Clavicular money, the Pepsi dude I'm talking about, maybe you can put him on screen.
Yes.
These people will spend money on anything that their heroes tell them to spend money on. So you can imagine like a gambling sponsor just working with Clavicular, or there's so many other um, mobile games.
Yes.
And there's so many people who would want to extract money from the fan base. Interesting person. I think at the core of the Looksmaxxing philosophy, there are some deep questions that they try to answer in a way that is okay. I have to say something, which is they might be a lot of things. The Looksmaxxing community, they're not. What do you call someone who does nothing?
They're not lazy.
Yeah, they attempt to they attempt to answer the fundamental questions, which is why are we here? And they tried to solve how do you see my Mac give you a thumbs up. They tried to solve the issue of finding a mate, which is one of the biggest biological drivers. Their take on the world is status and power and money, which is similar to other philosophies before them. But their mechanism to get status and power and money comes from something that they can internally, like they can control to some extent. So they are what's the word that I'm looking for? Agency. Yes, they take agency in their own abilities to accumulate the scarce resources of status and power through action. So these are not new human sentiments. These are just extremely new mechanisms that I think is a result of the Gen Z growing up the way that they did. Also, people don't speak as much. I think a large portion of this is also because of the lack of socialization that kids have with other human beings. They're on forums, they're on Looksmaxxing, incel forums, but they don't have a men are scared to talk to people. They're very scared to talk to women. Now, it's not a result of one thing, which I see some claims that it's because of the Me Too movement. I don't think so, but
No.
maybe it might be part of it. That yeah, they fear being called out, but it's also just lacking the social calibration to understand that you can go up and approach somebody. All you have to do is if they say no, just back off. Like you have to disengage and not be destroyed. Like, oh no, I am a loser. I didn't look smacks enough. So um one person who has a somewhat sane view on this is Professor Galloway, Scott Galloway. He has a podcast. He used to teach in New York. I forgot the name of the university, but he's a smart person. He says, bro, like people should drink more. The young people, they should socialize more. Forget about hustling. Like you're losing very human abilities, and you think that chasing ABC or whatever is going to get it to you. There's also stats that Gen Z or are actively refusing what was it, friendships, sex, drinking, less partying. So just across the board, they're disengaging from a lot of the things that historically young people have done a lot. Uh, this is not, again, we can color it as good or bad. There's so many things going on within this, but I definitely think that this particular section of the internet stems from, in a large part, the way that Gen Z is grown up. So what do you think?
Um, okay, I think there are a few things about this that I want to kind of unpack.
Okay.
Um, the first thing is what you said, that men are very scared to talk to women. And it reminded me of this GQ interview that Henry Cavill did,
Okay.
where he was asked what he thought of the Me Too movement, specifically the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
And he said that he had a very old-fashioned way of thinking about like approaching women and courtship, which is an interesting association to a movement that is set out to declare sexual assault in Hollywood. Like, there isn't really a connection between courtship and sexual harassment in my book, but that is where he thought his thinking went. And he said, what if you approach someone and she accuses you of being a rapist?
Mhm.
And I think that is really interesting and kind of telling of how your thought process is formed, because I don't think a sane person would have the goal to pretend that you have raped them if in a public setting you go up to them and say, hello, do you want to chat, or like something similar.
This is so
How wild it is to like make that leap. It's like jumping from the sun up to Pluto. They are not even almost in the same galaxy.
Yeah. What if I go outside and fall to the center of the earth? It's kind of like just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Why would that be a problem for you? Like, how would that impact you? Rant over. Having said that, I think, yes, I've heard a lot that
this current Gen Z outlook on life is the result of like their parenting and the fact that they grew up with phones. I think that is definitely a part of it, but I think that there have been historical and social events that have shaped the social media environment that Gen Z live in even more than the social media itself.
Uh-huh.
Mm, like having grew up through two recessions,
Yeah.
COVID, like the current economical outlook, I I do understand why you feel power, like why anyone would feel powerless, because the structures that many people, I think, from 1993, so like younger millennials have tried to follow, like study, get a degree, and get like a good job and a good life.
They
They
don't
worked
exist.
Yes, they worked maybe up until like people born in 1988 and 1987, but I think they started to disgregate quite quickly after 2008 recession, like the economic crisis. And what we have seen consistently, even like in previous centuries, is that when the historical conditions don't allow for people's agency, that agency turns onto like the people themselves, on their bodies,
Yeah,
because that is what you try to control. And this is something that we see like as a psychological coping mechanisms in many cases, even with EDs.
of
And
course.
like the fact that Clavicular takes crystal meth to suppress his appetite and he is on Ozempic to stay thin. I don't know. That sounds like pretty disordered to me.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I don't know. Like nobody ever asked him what is his favorite food, but does he have one at this point?
I don't think so. I think that is just a way of it's just sustenance, which is also what the Stoics would say, believe it or not. However, um
He
yeah,
traces a parallel with Stoics, with Stoicism, when asked by Jack O'Neill in another interview how like a masculine man should be, he goes directly to the Stoics. And
yeah.
I understand, like, Stoicism is a very appealing philosophy. I think it has great points, but I don't think at any point Stoicism was a man's philosophy. Like, Stoicism is an outlook on life that anyone can take and like try to use it to their benefit.
That wasn't his claim. Did he claim that it's like a man's philosophy?
No, but that was his response on how a masculine man should inhabit, like, should lead his life, like, in a moral philosophical sense.
Yeah. I think just to put myself in the shoes of Marcus Aurelius's ghost, I don't think he would approve Clavicular's actions in the world just because of how unempathetic it is, and it reduces a lot of the human condition into things that are relatively vague. That being said, though, I wanted to ask you if you knew what his end goal was. Like, why is he doing anything? Because he has ascended. He now makes money. He doesn't particularly care about, I don't know, food or even women. From the clips that I've seen, it's just, I don't know if it's part of the streaming shtick that he's very Tate-esque in the way that he is around women. I don't know. What is his
Well,
end goal? What is he doing anything? What's the meaning of his life now that he has ascended?
he says that he wants to be the best. I don't understand what, like, the best in what?
So does
Like,
DJ
as it,
Khaled, bro. Like that's what he says. We the best. Best of what? And then God
yes,
did. Like
he said, like, the best in the world, like, at streaming on Kick. at the best at Looksmaxxing. Like trans women have beaten you like ages ago. They have Looksmaxxed their ways into another
Yeah.
gender.
Very fair. That is very cool. I didn't think about it that way.
Matt Bomer is considered the amogger in Clavicular's eyes. Amoggers. Amogger means alpha male
Of the group.
among of the group.
know.
Thank you. Of the group, yes. So like when asked who is a 10, Clavicular says Matt Boomer. This man, he is a 10. He is obviously conventionally attractive. I would argue that Clavicular is already good looking enough. Then that I don't know. He says he will never be it.
I mean,
He's okay.
Based on his insecurity, I don't think he'll ever meet his standards. That's just how it works.
I mean, no one will ever hate him as much as he hates himself, probably, which is kind of sad.
Another philosophy of the ages.
What we get, listen to Clavicular, is that there is no satisfaction. Many times he says that he enjoys nothing. And I think part of that, as he has shared several times, is that he is on the autistic spectrum and very clearly doesn't have the support that like a high functioning autistic person would need, and using drugs to tolerate the social performance is a level of masking that is going to burn you out to the core.
Yeah.
And this is something interesting that I want to touch upon as we wrap and we get to the last chapter of like Clavicular's lives so far. But
Okay.
I want to show you this clip. Like, I don't know, I saw this very fun clip of Joe Rogan and some other old dudes discussing Clavicular and Looksmaxxing on their podcast.
Really?
It was
Holy-
such a treat.
What's up with that clavicular homo? You know what I'm talking about? What's up with that guy?
I think he's the opposite of a homo.
Who?
I think his
Oh.
whole thing is looksmaxxing to get chicks.
That sounds gay to me.
Ah.
Looksmaxxing?
What is Looksmaxxing?
But one of the things he does
Sounds gay
is
to me.
apparently he hits his face with a hammer to put micro breaks
All
in
right.
his face to make his
pretty cool.
jaw look
That's just
stronger.
trans. You're just man-to-man trans.
There you go.
Oh, man-to-man
Yeah,
trans.
you've just
I like
altered
that.
your looks to make yourself more of
More
a
man.
gender.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting.
Gender affirming.
Yeah, it's
What are
gender
fake
affirming.
tits then? Is that trans for girls?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
I like it.
No, don't take fake tits.
All right,
Don't-
leave fake tits, but you can't fucking make us. You can't be. It's gender affirming. If you're like men look this way, then you're like, all right, so it's a separate. It's like you can be something you're not. I don't know.
He gets laid, though.
I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure he does. A hand-
Funny to see this very unlooksmaxed man talk about, I don't know, someone who could be their son, probably by age, and like kind of debate whether that is homo, whether that is metrosexual, whether that is straight,
Trans for men.
male to male.
Male to male trans.
Do you remember, like, was there ever a thing in Bangladesh, the word metrosexual to describe a man, a straight man who takes
feminine
care of his
characteristics.
appearance?
Yeah, for sure. It's a big. I'm pretty sure it still is a big thing among kids.
Like, why was, like, do we need, like, I don't know, I think this is interesting and absurd that we need a word to describe like someone who is a straight cisgender man as if it's a whole other orientation because they, I don't know, shower, put on perfume, and
Yeah.
care about like whether their shirt matches their pants.
Sure. I think it goes back to over-identification, which is if you think about men defending other men for what's a good example? The not all men is a very good example. So when women say
Yes.
all men, and then like some random dude's like not all men. If you think about the chain of thought, it's like I am man, he is man, so man good. They say all men, so I bad. Man not bad. That is the logic. If you think about it in like gorilla terms, that is what it is. So it is over identification with your gender or your all the big identifiers, religion, nationality, gender. If you define yourself as if you overly identify yourself with that and not as just a human being, I have only seen problems emerge. Now, when you're kids, you don't have the logical reasoning to, go through all of this. It's just you just make fun of minorities. So if there's all men are like, okay, all dudes are playing soccer or they're doing their thing, and then one person is, putting on perfume or cares about, the color of their pants, then you feel the need to ostracize. That's humans doing human shit. Unfortunately. Gorilla, monkey see, monkey do kind of stuff.
Monkey see, monkeys do. Yes. But I think that is coupled with an intellectualization of human experiences that everything does but put you in a place to actually experience that stuff that you're talking about in your body. Referring in particular to a clip, to like a question that Jack O'Neill asked Clavicular about whether he had ever been in love, and he said, unsurprisingly, no.
Yeah.
Did we really expect anything else? And he said that if he had to talk about love, he would give a very scientific answer, such as pair bonding, which is, I don't know where in the science scale is, but I'm pretty sure that is really not super scientific at all.
It's the social sciences, so they're not really sciences.
Anthropology and like human evolution. I mean, there would be genetic data if human beings were truly like pair bonded, such as wolves or other mammals. But the data that we have about like about our genetics shows that there was quite a people like to have sex a lot.
As is evidenced by the 9 billion people on the planet at this current moment. So
somehow they got here. So I mean, I thought that was like how he responds and in general talks about his experiences, also using drugs to enhance his body and to act neurotypical.
yeah,
Very sanitized and from a very over intellectualized perspective
100%.
that makes me wonder whether there is some probably there is some kind of like dissociative, like emotional dissociative element to that, because that kind of like coping and masking sounds pretty unsustainable.
Absolutely. I just want to say that the over intellectualization of the human experience, it is a trend. We all are victims to it. I was having a conversation the other day of using the mind as a tool when you need it. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that happens that we don't do. We don't beat our heart. We don't breathe. We don't turn a piece of bread into teeth or hair or flesh. So there's a lot of intelligence that is not. I mean, your body functions not because of your mind is a part of you, and you are not your mind. So I think the problem is a lot of our drama, psychological drama, we interpret as reality where it's not the case. And we know this to be true a lot of the times when we're having an anxiety attack. There's nothing of substance that is materially probably changed. It's just stuff internally that we perceive to be true. And the Looksmaxxing community is, I think, like very simplistic solution to this would be to say touch grass, which is just get a bit more grounded. But let's leave it there. I just think you're right. You nailed it with the over intellectualization thing.
Well, okay. I want to show you a last couple of things before closing that I thought were very interesting. I don't know if you know, but Clavicular has had an overdose in mid-April.
Okay.
This is like this is the guy who was with him during that moment. And he talks about the cocktail of drugs that they use to keep on streaming for hours and sometimes do 24, 36 hours of
is Adderall, DXM, ketamine, BDO.
No, not BDO. It's 5-hour energy.
And pre-gab. Thank you.
This is androgenic. He is another Looksmaxxer. Androgenic is his, like, it's his nickname. It sounds like a transition hormone. Like, it sounds like a transition drug.
I think it is. I think androgenics are.
He basically was at the club during a stream. Androgenic asked him whether he wanted an Adderall, and he just collapsed on the floor. And he was hospitalized. And he shared the day after.
That was brutal.
Yes.
Trying to.
All of the substances are just a cope trying to feel neurotypical while being in public, but obviously that isn't a real solution. The worst part of tonight was my face descending from the life support mask. And descending, it means like the opposite of ascending, so becoming uglier.
He lost points. Yeah, we got it.
He lost points for the life support mask.
Crazy stuff, right? I would have not believed that stuff like this would be mainstream because Clavicular isn't a niche streamer with 200 followers.
No.
But in 2026, I understand it. I just hope that I don't know. I just hope the people in his fan base that are susceptible to very long-term negative consequences, they have some sort of supervision. Bro, this is wild.
Yeah. Yes. And I think we just scratched the surface because I had so many more clips that I had prepared and I didn't show you, like a lot of other interesting anecdotes like that he used to repeat the N-words on his streams, and he shot a dead alligator in the Everglades. He has been sued for assault and battery and drunk driving, apparently, allegedly. And like, it's a whole hot mess. But what strikes me more are two things. This stuff becomes talked about the moment it impacts a white, attractive boy.
Uh-huh.
Like, Looksmaxxing has been a thing for a long time. It has destroyed lives with plastic surgery, EDs, and whatnot, but it was always the lives of the wrong people.
Yeah.
Looksmax, like this kind of lookism has had an impact so tangible on Black and brown people that there is a real cleaning culture around it for the fear and the necessity to appear clean to white people. And it has never been an issue for Western, like by Western standards, up until a boy in Hoboken, New Jersey feels ugly enough that he starts taking testosterone at 15. And now we are socially concerned for him and his following. And these young boys, I don't know, wouldn't it be nice if society could care about young boys before they went batshit crazy?
Yeah, that's a fair point. The minute you said it, I imagined like if somebody in brown or like Asian brown society were to do stuff like this, they would not be well. I think that these societies are a lot more fearful of things like that are out of the ordinary. They would just be jailed, believe it or not, I think, or labeled as crazy. Like, I'm not even kidding. But yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, it wouldn't have gotten as much traction if it was any other community that I can think of, unless they did something even crazier, which is, of course, not the same thing. But yeah, fair point. I think for the clips and stuff, I do want to see them. So maybe we should do another episode.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
There was no
I'll
strings
do the
attached. It
clap that you did. I don't remember what you did. It was something like
was like,
that.
look at us, podcast maxing and jester maxing. I'm Veronica.
And I'm Agrito. We'll see you some other time.